My name is Don Newman. I am the manager of the Small Business Advocacy Unit within the Business Action Center. I want to thank you for joining us today. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available for review later. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Business Action Center and what we do. And then we'll turn it over to our guest speaker today. So let me share my slides. Okay. So this webinar is part of a series that we call Let's Talk. Let's Talk webinar series. And we have recorded 6 of these events in the past. We recorded, this will be the 3rd in this second phase of our series. And then we have one more coming up, and that will be, so those will all be posted on our website. And I'll show you that link in a moment. But our featured presenter today is Sophie Werner from the Women's Business Center at the Latin American Economic Development Association, or LAEDA. And we'll be hearing from her in a moment, and I'll let her introduce herself. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the Business Action Center. So we have one more left, as I mentioned, in this round of the webinar series, and that's going to be the basics of cybersecurity, which will be on Thursday. The registration page is on here. I understand that that's a very difficult one to look at. So this is being recorded. You should be able to pull up a copy of it, or this is actually the same registration page that you registered for this event. So you should be able to go back to it. Or basically, if you just go to nj.gov/state/BAC, you'll be able to find the link to the webinars right on that page. So I know this is a long link, a long URL, but I'm also pausing for a second for those of you that will push print screen and save this screen for further use after the event. Okay, so first, the Business Action Center. We have a long history of service to New Jersey business community in different iterations. We have 3 primary offices that deal with the business community. Our Office of Business Advocacy, Small Business Advocacy, and Export Promotion. I'm going to have a lot more to say about the Export Promotion team, but I'm also going to mention that our behind the scenes technical person for today is actually my counterpart, who is the manager of the Office of Export Promotion. So when we get to that, when I talk a little bit about that, you may hear him pop in and make corrections or add something. And we're also available to answer. He's also going to be available to answer questions later if anyone's interested in that program as we speak about it. But I will be talking about small business. And of course, Sophie is our main speaker. Office of Business Advocacy. We are connectors. And what we do is we help you connect with all the different resources that are out there. Our business advocacy team works on projects. So if you're building a building or you're expanding your business, the business advocacy team will help you navigate the regulatory process. Or if you have some other multifaceted project that they will work on. So if you're going through a regulatory issue with the DEP that may take a lot of back and forth, they will probably take your case, we call it, off of my hands as a small business advocate. They work primarily with medium and larger businesses, but they also have a big portfolio of small businesses that are addressing those kinds of issues. So we connect you to whether it be, and this is also true of the small business team, we connect you with all of the different regulatory groups. We can connect you with the federal and state capital programs to raise capital, whether it be through the CDFIs or the SBA or the EDA. We have we're keeping people up to date on any COVID restrictions, although those are pretty much going away, but we don't, hopefully forever, and that unless we have a huge surge, and also other mandates that you may have when it comes to conducting business in the state. And we can connect you with all different agencies, whether it be the Economic Development Authority or the taxation or SCORE or the Small Business Development Center, who we're financing partner with. We give them money to provide services to you through my office. So we can make those connections for you and identify your needs and what's the best path to satisfying those needs or making your vision a reality. That's what our goal is to try to provide you with all the resources that you need in order to achieve your goals or overcome a challenge that you're facing. That's the definition of what the Business Action Center is all about. One of the great resources we have right now is called business.nj.gov. That is a website. It's not the Business Action Center's website. It's a website for the governor's innovation team. However, it's business oriented, obviously. So there's a lot of resources that are available on that site. I'm not going to go through them all, except for I'm going to mention one. That is a live chat. If you go on that website, there's an icon in the bottom right-hand corner where you can click on that and you can talk to a real person. It is not a robot. It is not a bot. It's not a chat bot. It's a live chat, which means that, yeah, you may get some preliminary questions that are automated, but once you start talking to someone, you're actually talking to a member of my staff, or in many cases, me. And we can answer any questions. Since March 1st of last year, at the start of the pandemic, prior to that, this was a pilot program. So we really weren't doing a lot of chats. But after the pandemic started and everyone shifted to telework and all that, since then, we've answered over 80,000 questions on that chat with business owners. So it's a great way. It's now the primary way we communicate with the business community is through that chat bot. Or excuse me, I'm just calling it a chat bot, through that live chat. So feel free to utilize that. We have Spanish language capabilities on that chat. So if you're more comfortable speaking in Spanish, we can help you there as well. Great opportunity for you to communicate with the Business Action Center, but we've also tied in other agencies. So if you come to us with a tax question, which we are not able to answer, I can, within that chat environment, I can transfer your conversation to a member of the Division of Taxation, and they will answer it. Sometimes they'll take you off the platform because the information they need to share with you is confidential. So they may take you off that platform, but you'll be speaking to someone there, or the Economic Development Authority, or the employer accounts over in the Department of Labor. We can connect you to all of those agencies, and we will be adding more. Hopefully, the goal ultimately will be that no matter what your business question, no matter what agency is associated to answering that question, you'll be able to get the answer directly within that chat environment. So that's our ultimate goal. Right now, it's us, Economic Development Authority, taxation, and employer accounts. Where else could you contact state government in one place and talk to that many agencies without being told, oh, you got to talk to somebody else to call them? We won't do that, for at least for those agencies so far. So great opportunity for a new way to contact the state. Anyway, so I mentioned export promotion. So again, I am the small business the manager of the Small Business Advocacy Unit. I work with businesses that have unique needs of a small business, whether raising capital, getting technical assistance, learning, doing business plans, all of that. But another area where small businesses can really expand is through exports. So I always feature export promotion when I speak. So, and this is a slide that talks about some of the services that they provide, like identifying the market for your product and globally, what countries import your kinds of products and services, and how do you navigate that regulatory issue with going into that country for export. We can help you with that. We can help you put together a plan. So that's a great opportunity for a small business, because like we were just talking earlier, if you sell e-commerce and you get an order from Canada, you're an exporter. So don't forget that exports are important. I always say, the story I always tell when I talk about this is, if you have a candy store and you're selling and you get an order for 10 pounds of saltwater taffy that goes to Ontario, guess what? You're an exporter. So don't turn a blind eye to the 95% of the world's consumers that do not live in the United States. One of the big tools in our toolbox for export promotion is a program called STEP, State Trade Expansion Program. This is a financial assistance program funded through a grant that we receive from the SBA to help you become an exporter. And we can pay for things like going on a foreign trade mission, getting a translation services. And what I just learned myself a few minutes ago is that one of the largest growing segments of this program are those that are interested in improving their e-commerce presence so that they can do exports, and helping develop their website so that they can accept those international orders. We are about a few, we're on Friday, our previous year's program ends. But on Friday, we launched the next phase of our financing for this program, which is $1.25 million. So we have $1.25 million to give away, and we give away every penny to business owners to help them become exporters. So if you're interested in that program, like I say, Bill is on the call with us today, but I give you his contact information, William Spear at sos.nj.gov. Our application is on this website. I'm going to ask Bill a quick question. Is the new application that starts in the October up yet, or should they wait a little while?
Don, it is not. We will have that up by, I suspect midnight Thursday of this week. But to answer your question, it is not yet available. But I've just included my email address. If there are folks that would like to begin a conversation, we can begin that and then follow up with those forms in somewhat short order.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yep.
So 1-800 Jersey 7 is our call center number that is still active. Although, like I said, the live chat seems to be the more preferred way that people contact us. But either one is fine if you're interested in this program or any of the programs that we have to offer. Live chat, business.nj.gov. Our website is actually up on top there, nj.gov/state/BAC. And my contact information is on the bottom, donald.newman@sos.nj.gov. You can also reach me through any of the other contact points that we've mentioned here, because most of the people that are working on those are my staff. So you can always reach out through that. I mentioned our business advocates for those projects. I do list the names and contact information for them, as well as our executive director. Although I have to say that Mike Mangan has announced that he'll be retiring soon, so he's only going to be with us a few more days. But these are the business advocates if you have a project that you're interested in. But you can always use us as the contact point to get connected to them. All right, so that's really all I wanted to say, and I apologize for taking as much time as we did before I can get you to Sophie Warner, our specialist today. I'm going to turn this over to her. I will be watching the chat, so if you have questions, go ahead and put them into the chat platform. Remember, this is going to be recorded, so if you miss a slide here or there, you can always go back and watch the recording. But I'm excited to introduce you to Sophie Warner and from the Latin American Economic Development Association. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. Really excited to be here. As he said, my name is Sophie Warner, and I'm with the Latin American Economic Development Association, otherwise known as LAIDA, and the Women's Business Center. So glad to see a couple of people are here live. Wonderful. I hope that you feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll do my best to answer them throughout the presentation. We also have time for questions at the end. For all those that are joining us on this recording at a later date, welcome as well. So just a little bit of background about LAIDA. So we started back in 1987 with the goal of supporting the Puerto Rican business community here in the city of Camden, and have since then evolved to work with small business owners in Southern New Jersey and those that are looking to start small businesses in Southern New Jersey, with an emphasis on minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. We became home to the Women's Business Center 5 years ago in 2016. So we are funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the Small Business Administration. But today we're here to talk about e-commerce platforms. And I'm not sure if the live viewers are able to add to the chat, but would love to know, where are you at on your business journey? Are you looking to start a e-commerce based business? Do you already have a retail or service-based business that you're looking to put on e-commerce? Where are we at? Pre-registration, idea phase, or maybe you're already on e-commerce and are just looking for some best practices. All right. So as you're typing those, I'm going to continue, but please let me know. Would love to be able to tailor some of this content specifically to the phase at which the attendees are at. So today we're going to be talking about e-commerce platforms, finding and evaluating. We're going to talk about your online presence, client payment systems, product shipping systems, online marketing plans, and looking at your inventory. All right. So e-commerce platforms, at the end of the day, they're dynamic options that connect you with your customers digitally. So we've seen such a trend recently, of course, in result of the pandemic, but also generally there has already been a trend towards more web-based retail outlets. So this has really increased the speed by which businesses have had to pivot if they haven't already. So I hope that this information will give you some of that foundation, those tools that you need to either continue to move your business, to have e-commerce channels, or to really, lay that groundwork to get started. And I think that, when we talk about sales channels, the e-commerce platforms, they are crucial to reaching people now more than ever, because maybe you'd be able to go to a vendor event or an in-person fair, a farmer's market, etc. But maybe, that's not an option right now, or people are less hesitant to come out. But I think the online, that gives you that reach. But at the same time, we want to make sure that you are picking the right platform and are still reaching your target market, because at the end of the day, you still, everyone is not your customer, even though anyone could type in your URL and visit your webpage. But we want to make sure that, we are staying focused. All right, so starting with some pros, cons. So for the e-commerce platforms, they're free to join or have 14-day free trials available. So definitely take advantage of those. They use site demographic data and e-commerce tools to make selling decisions. So that helps your processes by having that worked in, and you can feed off the established market share and reputation of the site. They're also flexible, so you can sell as much as you want or as little as you want, when you want, and working around your schedule. So of course, if you don't limit the inventory quantity that you have on your website, that could be an issue, but you can really control that aspect. So if it's just you, if you're a solopreneur, if you are a hobbyist looking to formalize your side business, your side hustle, this presentation was actually originally part of our Turning Your Hobby into a Business series, in which we were talking to aspiring business owners that were working their business on the side, very much product based, and we're looking to leverage e-commerce sales channels. So this is absolutely applicable to those that are further in their retail business journey. So cons, you can't avoid fees completely. So there's listing fees, selling fees, transaction fees, account fees. Sometimes the names are slightly different, but at the end of the day, the cost of doing business on these platforms. So return policies are typically very strict. The customer is always right, as we know, and even more so on these platforms because they want to protect themselves from any liability. So it's all going to go on you. So if you do not have product liability insurance, absolutely look into getting that before launching it and putting yourself out and exposing yourself to potential risk. So some sites require a universal product code to post on their site. So an example of that is Amazon, and then others are very exclusive and rely on approval to join their community. So Etsy and Amazon Handmade. So we've got a question from William. Are their products more likely successful on an e-commerce platform? Absolutely. So in terms of highly successful products, you're always going to have to start with your target market. If you are looking to sell any kind of food item, really making sure it's shelf stable, making sure the life, the expiration date, the shelf life is at a point where you can turn over that inventory. Lots of business owners that I've been working with are in the clothing and retail, accessories industries, and that has definitely been one that just continues to grow, as well as different independent artists that are selling certain goods, whether that be greeting cards to a lot of custom goods. We're also seeing. All right, move on. So when you're choosing the right e-commerce platform, like I said a few times, you want to start with your target market. So who are they? Which websites and applications do they spend time using? And we're going to get into demographics on different social media platforms in a moment. After you have identified your target market and really taken a good long look at where they're already at, assess your bandwidth and capacity. Be realistic with yourself. If you are making handmade mugs, or if you are making cold pressed handmade soap bars, how many soap bars can you make in one weekend if that's the amount of time that you have to dedicate to your business if you're working a regular 9 to 5? Or if you are buying and selling, if you're a distributor, maybe you sell handbags, maybe you sell accessories, maybe you sell women's or children's clothing. What is your capacity in terms of orders? At what point are you going to have an issue with your cash flow? What is a sustainable number of inventory that you should put online that you are able to fulfill? Because the last thing you want to do is invest in marketing, invest time and money in promoting your products, and then not have the ability to meet that demand. So really being honest with yourself, assessing your bandwidth and your capacity. And again, for those that are joining us live, would love to hear what types of businesses you all have, if you are pre-venture, have already launched, and if you're already on e-commerce, because I can absolutely tailor some examples to fit your businesses. So do you have enough working capital to meet potential demand? And how many orders can you complete with your current inventory? Like I had mentioned before, you want to take advantage of free trials and free accounts. Get a feel for which one seems the most intuitive for your specific needs. So absolutely cast a wide net. I'm going to go over some e-commerce platforms, some pros and cons of each, and fees associated with them, but definitely figure out one that works for your needs. And share your listings on social media platforms. Which posts are generating the most sales? Which e-commerce platform is the most compatible with your target market social media use? So for your posts on social media, let's say, for this example, we've got the Facebook logo, let's say it's on Facebook. If you are going to create a Facebook page for your business, it needs to be associated with a personal page. And so I've had clients that were concerned, oh my goodness, I have a personal page, but I don't want to be on Facebook. I would rather not have my name or profile associated with the business. It's only for the back end of Facebook. So when you create a personal Facebook account, you can make everything private. You can, hide yourself from the search, etc. And you would just be using that personal account to make the business page. And then on the business page, everything that you would post, you can make sure that the setting is from your business. So even though they're linked on the back end, customer facing, public facing, the Facebook page is completely separate and apart, but they just need to have it connected to a personal page. And the insights available on those Facebook pages are incredible. So it's really worth establishing that page if you have not already. So before committing to an e-commerce platform, you want to find one that fits your needs. Take advantage of those free trials before committing. Read all of the agreement fine print and understand all associated fees. So beware of those hidden fees. And bring your customers to your online store through free social media promotional platforms. All right, so now we're gonna hop into those platforms and just look at some demographic information. So Facebook has 2.27 billion MAUs, monthly active users, and 68% of adults use Facebook, compared to 75% of adults in urban areas that use Facebook, and the vast majority access via mobile device. Why does this matter? Because if someone is accessing an ad for your business on Facebook mobile app and your website is not mobile friendly, that's going to be an issue. So making sure that the client experience is front and center, and that when they click on that call to action button, when they click on, purchase now or find out more information, when they go to your website, you want to make sure it is mobile friendly and that the photos are also sized correctly, that it is a responsive platform. Instagram has 1 billion MAUs, and 72% of those users are between the ages of 13 and 17. And then 64% of those, or 64% of 18 to 29-year-olds are on Instagram. And then the same for the 72%. My apologies for misspeaking, but something to keep in mind, let's say your end user is a 13-year-old person, or 13, 14-year-old is the end user. At the end of the day, are they the one purchasing it? Who is the target market? The target market would be who has the purchasing power. So keeping that in mind. So maybe Instagram isn't the best fit. That's not to say you can't use it and leverage it, but I've heard time and time again that the sales from Instagram are not as high compared to other social media, such as Facebook, such as Pinterest. And it's important to keep in mind that engagement does not equal sales. Someone could have 1 million followers, hundreds and hundreds of likes on a single post, but if at the end of the day, those people didn't take that step forward and make a purchase, then it's all for nothing. And something to keep in mind with any marketing tactic is, if you cannot track the impact of the money that you're investing in a specific marketing tactic, do not do it. Wait until you can track the impact of each dollar you're investing, because how will you know if it's working or not if you aren't tracking how people came to your website or how they heard of you? And then for Pinterest, we've got 250 million MAUs, 29% of adults use Pinterest, and 83% of female users are on the platform, quote, to plan life moments. And 61% of pinners made a purchase after seeing a product on Pinterest. So that is a very, very high percentage. And then for Twitter, we've got 68 million MAUs, 79% of users reside outside the US. So talk about exporting. If you are promoting on Twitter, you want to know that your audience, that 79% of users on Twitter are outside of the United States. Are you ready to process orders for those that are not in the continental US and its territories? And 40% of users are ages 18 to 29, and 24% of adults use Twitter. All right, now we're going to hop into some e-commerce platforms. So the following information is an overview of e-commerce platforms based on research. Is not in any means encompassing all of the e-commerce platforms that are available in the universe. So, and please review all fine print and fee policies before creating an account. So today we're going to look at 4 main platforms. We're going to look at Amazon Handmade, eBay, Etsy, and Facebook Marketplace. And we're going to look at some different e-commerce site creators, which is going to be separate, because these ones are more so, there's that market as Facebook Marketplace, that market experience that someone can go on there and see a bunch of different vendors and really look for and search that database looking for small business sellers or just looking for sellers in general. So this is a different option, whereas having your own separate e-commerce website. So starting with Amazon Handmade, so you've got a referral fee, which is going to be 15% or $1 an item, depending on whichever amount is greater, which is typical. We've also got eBay, which has a listing fee and a selling fee. They do have the first 250 listings you are able to put on there for free. Etsy, the listing fee is 20 cents, transaction fee 5%, and then payment processing, we're going to see that 3% plus 25 cents several times. And then, it's important to take note of how many million active buyers and million active users are on each platform. So, and then Facebook Marketplace, you've got a transaction fee, which is via PayPal at 2.9 plus 30 cents. All right, so we are going to use an example for all of these platforms to just look at the price that will be associated with a retail item such as a handmade soap bar. Let's say that soap bar is going for $7.99. And with the New Jersey sales tax, it's going to add 53 cents. So here we are on Handmade, Amazon Handmade. The fees are going to be $1.20. The listing fee is going to be 35 cents. The final value sales fee, 10%. So at the end of the day, eBay is $1.15. For Etsy, you've got the listing fee, transaction, and payment processing, all adding up to $1.09. And then finally on Facebook Marketplace, there are less fees. It's just going to be the transaction fee, and it's going to be 53 cents. All right, so here are those platforms compared, and I just wanted to go through that quickly as an example of the analysis that you want to make on your various platforms. What would be that cost of doing business on these platforms? These fees seem minuscule, but when calculated in conjunction with your cost of goods sold, so your materials plus your labor, it could bleed into the profit margins. So really taking a good hard look at, okay, how profitable is this item? If this item, if you're, this would be for a $7.99 item, but at what point would it not make sense? What is the minimum that you need to sell for it to be profitable? So Amazon Handmade, all of these different platforms have different benefits. So Amazon Handmade has 310 million active Amazon customers, which is, you're really leveraging their market share, and it's exclusively for handmade items. So people on that platform are looking for specifically handmade products. eBay has 180 million active registered users and, is known as a place for small retail. Etsy has 41.3 million active buyers and is known for handmade and vintage. And it's something to keep in mind is that sellers are also buyers, been around since 2005. And then Facebook Marketplace, 800 million monthly active users. It does categorize by proximity. So distribution or shipping will be cheaper, but you might not reach someone that is, a few counties away, depending on the radius that they set. And, oftentimes Facebook Marketplace, we are seeing more used goods. We are seeing more of a garage sale, yard sale type of environment. So really making sure that the that the platform is a good fit for what you're selling. All right, we're going to be looking at e-commerce platforms, but looking at where you can create your own e-commerce website. So these are 3 examples that we are going to look at today: Ecwid, Shopify, and Spreezy. All right, so starting with the Ecwid free plan. So this would include, the account is free and you can list 10 products. There is going to be a shipping fee and a transaction fee. It's a best fit for small sellers wanting to list a few items on Facebook, to shop, blog, or other web platforms. So this would be, this does integrate with your social media platforms. So it would be a good way to kind of test the waters to see, okay, is this a good fit, starting with that free plan. And then you could get the venture plan, which is going to be at $15 a month, which you can have up to 100 products. So this is best for smaller sellers wanting to list a few items on Facebook Shop, blog, or other web platform. Shopify Lite, so that account would be $9 a month, and you can post unlimited products. Sellers of all sizes, this is best for those sellers wanting to sell on a Facebook shop, social sites, blogs, and seller marketplaces. And then Spreezy, you've got an account that's free, but the transaction fee, it's that PayPal fee, so the 2.9% plus 30 cents. And that's for sellers of all sizes wanting to maximize social selling. So using those shoppable posts on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. So for this handmade soap bar with that retail price of $7.99, we're going to see how it adds up on the various platforms that we are looking at. So for Equid, and this is what the homepage would look. If you were on an Equid account, you've got your dashboard, you can look at your sales, you can pull reports, and then just different sales channels. So looking at selling on Facebook, etc. So for the free plan, you would only be paying that transaction fee. So it would be 53 cents. And of course, the venture plan fee, per item, it would depend on how many you sell. So you have to do, crunch those numbers to see how many do you need to sell in order for it to make sense, in order for it to be feasible for you. For Shopify, this is that homepage that you would see if you logged into Shopify. You can create a buy button. You can have sales channels on Facebook, Messenger, if you have a POS system. And then again, you're able to track orders and look at your customers and look at analytics. All right, so for that Shopify Lite, those fees would total 98 cents, and really based on the account fee and the transaction fee. All right, finally, we're going to look at Spreezy, and this is just to give you an overview of the options that are out there and what it looks like when operating one of these platforms. So you can see your earnings, you can see any pending orders, current orders for day of, and really looking at this is your dashboard. And then for prices and payments, this is just some information that they have for their business customers. But at the end of the day, your fees on Spreezy would be 60 cents, just that transaction fee plus the PayPal fee. And Spreezy would link with all of these different sales channels. All right, so just looking at that information, but just compared side by side for Equid, the free and venture plan, and the Shopify and Spreezy plan. All right, yeah, so we can absolutely send out this PowerPoint and this information. So for payment systems, you want to first and foremost establish a bank account for business funds. So I would love to know who here has a registered business. All right, Desmond, you got a registered business. Wonderful. So are you registered as an LLC? Are you an S corporation? Are you doing business as? Okay, wonderful. So as an LLC, then, the whole rhyme and reason behind, getting that pass through entity is to get that extra protection to make sure that you are not doing business as your social security number, right? You've got your EIN, you're separate and apart from the business. Desmond Hayes and the LLC, they're separate. But if you do not follow the formalities that are required of an LLC, one of those, one of those common ones that are pointed out are commingling funds. If you are not conducting business in a way that shows that you and the LLC are separate and apart, it could put your personal assets at risk, because if they come after, if legal action is taken against your LLC and it seems that the LLC isn't being administered as one, but is really a sole proprietor, you don't have an operating agreement, you don't have a separate bank account, you aren't paying yourself through owner's draw, et cetera, then that creates a whole bunch of issues. A great first step is making sure that you're establishing a bank account. Wonderful. I love to hear that. So making sure that you're establishing a bank account for your business funds and knowing how you'll get paid. So you want to read the fine print for your e-commerce platform, knowing which ones they accept, and which ones make sense for your target market. Maybe your target market, prefers to use, PayPal. Maybe they prefer to use Cash App. Knowing which platform is the best in terms of, if people have access and if they've downloaded this app or have accounts. And then exactly. So making sure, just like I was saying, make sure your customers and of course you feel comfortable with the payment system used. So stick with reputable options that your target market will already have an account on. If someone has to create a separate account to purchase your product, you're probably going to lose that customer. All right, so for shipping and fulfillment, so basic need to know information, you're going to need to know your shipping rates and your methods, product weights, preferred packaging, source of packaging, options you have as a seller in terms of shipping. You can offer free shipping and obviously include that in your cost of goods sold. You could use real-time carrier rates, or you could offer a flat rate. And these are some great tools from Ecwid and Shopify. So there's some automatic rates from carriers. It connects with your online store, with your carrier company through Ecwid shipping integration. And you should be able to click on, or I'm going to send some links into the chat. Okay. Yes, Desmond, do you still have your hand up, or is that from before? Okay, I think that was from before.
Okay.
So Shopify shipping calculator, this again, highlighting the importance of, the Office of Export. Will you ship only domestically or also internationally? And as always, asking for reviews, your prospective customers will read them, and you want to make sure that the shipping and fulfillment are not a cause of grief with these reviews. And of course, anytime you have a negative review, making sure that you are addressing it and addressing the problem too behind the scenes. So this was our overview for e-commerce platforms. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, feel free to pop something in the chat if you have a question for Sophie or myself. I will, or if you want to raise your hand, because this is a small group, I'm happy to turn on your microphone and allow you to ask your question live if you prefer that to using the chat. Either way is fine. So, oh, here we go. Anything on? Whoop, sorry,
Are certain platforms better for B2B or business to business versus B2C? Absolutely. So this presentation was very much focused on B2C businesses. So when you're selling directly to your customers, in terms of B2B, that would be, you would want to find a platform that you would get a discount for in terms of shipping fees or transaction fees for that higher quantity of items. So I would need to comb through and look for some B2B platforms that would make sense. But I do work with clients that have e-commerce websites that are selling B2B and B2C. But in terms of B2B, they the pricing is different. It's really making sure that you on your end, you're calculating, you want to give a discount, if someone's ordering 100 t-shirts versus, someone's ordering a single t-shirt from your shop that, already are created, but making sure that you are not losing money. So I think that, I had a client that was selling another custom made item to businesses, to universities, and because of the package, once when you purchase over 100 of this product, they're only $5, that was actually cutting into it was becoming a cost to her to sell these products, because wanting to have it at a competitive rate, wanting to have it at a competitive wholesale rate is not always feasible for small businesses. So I always recommend making sure that you are providing a something that's unique, different, better, and special to the market, and really identifying who is going to have that buying power to purchase for that higher quality.
I kind of a strange question for you.
Okay.
Can you talk about sort of a hybrid of using e-commerce to sell services instead of a product?
Yes. So a platform that I have seen used has been Calendly, and there's other scheduling platforms out there for service-based businesses. Several of my clients have cleaning service businesses, so I've recommended other platforms for them. I think that the Calendly would be very much if you have if you're scheduling a time slot with someone, so it's a calendar scheduling platform, and you can process payments on that platform. And there are several others that because your inventory with a service-based business is your time, right? So making sure that if you're tracking that, I have clients that are using the free version, right? They're using Google Calendar. Other people are looking to use Honeybook. So that's an example of one that a lot of service-based businesses use and are pretty affordable, but you want to make sure that you have the demand and that you're going to take advantage of all of the different analytics that are on there. Because if you are not organized, yes, yeah, Calendly is worth investigating, absolutely. So if you need to upload your availability, if you need to upload any issues with your schedule, maybe you're closed one day, maybe you have a reoccurring client weekly, making sure that you invest the time into setting up these platforms, because it's only as good as the information that you put on there, because it's going to save you time, but only if you invest it in the front end.
Thank you. Any other questions? We still have a few more minutes left in our scheduled time, so I'm always reluctant to end early, but I will if there are no more questions.
Yeah, I do have one more slide, and I did want to recommend that if you are interested to having a one-on-one conversation, maybe you need assistance to get through the registration process. Maybe you are looking to create your business plan, your marketing plan. Maybe you need assistance getting on those platforms, looking at your cost of goods sold, making your financial projections, whatever it may be, and accessing capital. You can request a business counseling session, and those are available at no cost virtually in English or Spanish. So I'm going to put that link into the chat right now. And I also wanted to give a quick overview of some upcoming classes that we have. I'm going to try to get to that counseling link. All right. So this business counseling request form, all you need to do is basically fill out your name, contact information, and what type of assistance are you looking for. So the more details you give us, the better we can match you to a counselor that will meet your specific needs. But if you just respond with, oh, general business assistance, we will still, of course, contact you and figure out and dig a little deeper. So upcoming trainings, we have our Quick Start series that is going to be starting at the end of next month, actually in 1 month exactly. So this is online. This is going to be a course that meets in the evenings from 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursdays, starting on October 28th. And it's going to go over the ABCs of starting a small business, as well as business planning, marketing, getting the word out for your business, as well as credit management for entrepreneurs. And this is free, but you must register. I'm going to put that link in the chat. Just going to fill up the chat, Dawn. Hope that's okay.
That's okay. So while you're doing that, I'm going to quick answer a question. Somebody asked about what are the requirements for having an e-commerce home-based business. Really, there are no differences in the state requirements for a home-based business versus a brick and mortar business. You still have to go through the registration process. You still need to decide on how you want to organize yourself, whether it be an LLC or a sole proprietorship. Those are all important questions, by the way, which I always say you must be making an informed decision, because the consequences of making a bad decision, but there is no wrong answer, but there is bad decisions based on what your particular needs are. So always be careful about that. Go to your counseling services. They'll tell you how to do that. However, there are differences maybe at the local level. Operating a business from your home could be a violation of local zoning. I don't consider myself an expert on all the zoning regulations, because there's 564 towns in New Jersey, or actually 563 now. I think 2 of them are about to merge. And they all have their own ordinances. So all the ordinances are different. And they're all represented by a zoning officer. That's an official title within that town. Typically, they don't bother you if you are not going to be a nuisance with your neighbor. So if you're running an e-commerce business, sitting at a desk in front of a computer, you have a fulfillment system set up that doesn't involve bringing a bunch of employees to work out of your basement, or some other making deliveries, tractor trailers pulling up and loading merchandise into your garage. The town typically will not have a problem with it. It's only when you start to be a nuisance to your neighbors that they would start to give you a hard time. So most e-commerce businesses that are not in that kind of a situation are fine for a home-based business, and no one's going to give you a problem. You just have to do the same registration process as anyone else would do. So
Great question. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of another class, I put the Quick Start series link into the chat. We also are recruiting for our Women's Business Academy. That is a 9-week, 72+ hours of training intensive course that is going to be running from January to March 2022. So this is for business owners and entrepreneurs that have a viable business idea, that have managerial experience in their business, and have the resources needed to take their business to the next level, or to formalize and really launch that business. So you would be able to attend, a class would be it's 3 to 4 times a week for 9 weeks. So it meets from 6 to 8:30 p.m., going over topics from experts in the fields, such as business law, real estate, tax accounting, small business financing, marketing, human resources, team building, leadership and development, insurance, and of course, small business, like I said, small business financing and the business planning aspect. You would be matched with a business counselor that would work with you throughout the course to develop a strategic 1-page business plan, which then can be used in creation of your financial projections, and you would receive ongoing support even after the course is over. So it is free, but you must qualify. So I'm going to send that link to the chat right now for those that are interested. Any questions about either of these courses or any of the content from today?
Women's Business Academy, obviously it's focused on women entrepreneurs. Is it exclusive to women entrepreneurs?
That is a great question. So while it is focused on women entrepreneurs, you can apply if you are not a woman. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for attending today. Again, the Business Action Center is here to answer any of your questions or connect you with resources like the Women's Business Centers, uh, Small Business Development Centers, or regulatory agencies within the state, financing organizations. So feel free to reach out to me with any of your business questions. I would be happy to do that. Thank you again to Sophie and to the Latin American Economic Development Association. I always want to say authority on that, and I always get that. And thank you for sharing your information today. It's very informative, and I appreciate your time and your the information that you've provided. Thank you for to the attendees. I love the fact that I always say when I have a smaller group, I tend to get a lot more questions. So I appreciate your questions, and I appreciate your time and your kind attendance today. Again, if you have any other questions, you can always follow up with us. But for now, I think we're going to go ahead and close out this program for today. And thank you very much for being here. Thank you.